What's up, everybody? It's Castle coming back in with that goonery. And today we're going to be talking about a pretty wild shroom experience. But before that, everybody stop, pause, and go hit the like and subscribe button because just come on now. Come on. It's free. It takes like a second. You just got to just do it for me. All right. So on this day, I was hanging out with some of the homies. We're going to call them Luke, Alan, and Brody. Anyways, we're riding around, looking for something to do. And Brody says, "Hey, well, I got this plug and he's got really good shrooms right now." And we were like, me and Luke and Alan had never done shrooms. So we were all pretty interested. We were like, well, let's see them. And plus, Brody was willing to trip set, which is a very important thing. One of the psilocybin essentials, you could say. And so he has some of them, the classic golden teachers, and they were looking pretty good, not gonna lie. I mean, they look good for sure. So we drive like 20 minutes all the way across the city to meet this guy. He doesn't deliver. And so we meet him, and it was pretty weird. I don't know, like, if his parents were home or what, but it was sus. Like, the guy walked out of his crib and just really slowly meandered to the car before he just made the handoff. And it was just a little weird, but it was all good. And so it was just the four of us. So we got, I think, 9 grams because we figured that would be enough to go all around. And looking back, it was definitely more than enough. But at the time, we just figured that it would be all good. And it was all good. So we pressed on. We went back to our side of the city. So we went to Allen's neighborhood because there's some really pretty forest trails to walk through. And on the way, we stopped to get drinks. So we got we got some Coca-Cola. We got some Sprite. We got all the regular suspects, and we're heading to the forest, and we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do. And so we get there, and we end up going to this little park bench to take them. And so we're all trying to divvy them up, see how much everyone wants. And my friends all took like a little under, maybe around 2 Gs. But Luca had put some in his drink trying to get him down, and he just decided he had had enough. So I took the rest of those, and I'm a fiend, so I ended up taking like 4 Gs probably, which is quite a bit considering, like I said, this was my first time doing psilocybin, and also considering, by God, how awful it is trying to get that shit down. It tastes like no joke, like literal horse shit. It smells so bad. It is so hard to get down. Like, I don't know. People were talking about like making it into. I've heard people talking about like peanut butter and shroom sandwiches. That sounds awful to me, but I guess like it's up to you. But I just swallow them like pills the best that I can. I just try to get them straight down because, God, that shit sucks. I got a hella funny story about trying to get him down with another homie at some point, but that's not for this video. So anyway, so we just decided we're just gonna walk through the forest, just walk along the river, just have a chill time, see what happens, see where our feet take us. And so after like 40 minutes probably, I really started feeling things. After probably like 25, I felt the come up for sure, and I just started feeling this sort of this lightness to my body. But once it really hit, it wasn't a super visual trip. I felt so like connected to the world around me and like whole. I don't really know how to explain it exactly in words. The main thing though, whenever I take mushrooms, is I just feel so connected to the world and to everyone around me. And like, it's almost like with Molly, the love feeling, but less chemical and more like real and wholesome. So we're walking along, we're making jokes. One of our friends was on a log and we took a picture and we were just making memes, and we thought it was funny as hell at the time. Looking back, I have no idea why, but I mean, we still talk about it to this day. We still find that hella funny. Anyway, we keep going, we stay on our walk. It was a nice time. We're all, kind of contemplating shit in our head. And that's the best part of psilocybin, in my opinion, is just the realizations and the revelations you make while you're on it. Like, it's not like anything else in my experience. It opens your mind in a whole new way. The only substances I would use, like if I were, I wouldn't do anything if I were you, but smoking and mushrooms are the only things that really won't mess you up. I mean, you do hear some horror stories, so you gotta be careful. Make sure you got a trip sitter, make sure you're with the right people, make sure you got the right headspace going on. Because seriously, like if you take especially a psychedelic in the wrong headspace, you can really mess yourself up, and you do not want to do that. So just make sure you're straight and you'll be chilling. I mean, they use mushrooms for like antidepressant at this point for all types of shit for PTSD therapy. I mean, I know it helped my PTSD and I didn't even do it supervised or anything like that. But anyway, back to how I was feeling. Like the one visual part of this trip for me, the real visual part was kind of awkward because we were on a public path and I was flicking a lighter and looking at the flame, and for a second it just the flame turned like green and purple, and I was just looking at it, and I stopped and it was like growing bigger and kind of like sparkling. I don't know exactly how to put words to it, but anyways, I stop and I'm just staring at this in the middle of the path, and this like older couple walks past us and is sort of giving us that knowing look. You know what I'm talking about if you've ever been up to some real tomfoolery, but some of the homies just, kind of bring me back into it and I keep going. And to this day, I still haven't had that much visuals ever on a shroom trip, but this was probably the coolest visual I've ever had. I mean, I still think about it sometimes. Not the coolest psychedelic visual, but the coolest shroom visual. At this point, it's probably been like an hour and a half, and we're not really tired. We're enjoying the nature, but the weirdest, like most perfect thing happened at that time. So as we're walking, we just stumble across in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. We just stumble across this like nature themed, like trippy, just art show. And there's no one else there. It's set up and it's just all these different pieces of art. There's some sculpture, there's some paintings, there's drawings, just in the middle of the woods. And it sounds too good to be true. So I'm going to try to find a picture. But yeah, that shit was crazy. It was like made for exactly what we were up to. So we just spent like, honestly, a good 30, 40 minutes just walking around, just taking in all this art. And it was pretty cool, to be honest. I don't know who made it, but shout out to them for real. It's a little bit spooky though. Like it was almost like a, Matrix moment, because how does that even happen? Like you're tripping, you're walking through the woods, and out of nowhere you find an art show like that. Like that's perfectly made for it, themed about it. So I mean, after this point, we're all pretty. Our spirits are high, so we end up just putting on some music and walking the rest of the way back. And once we get back, we're all pretty worn out, but it was a hell of a trip for real. So it was another side quest, another main story mission complete. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. I love y'all and stay safe.